Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In the last video, I talked about how I was repairing this box bed here. See part of it right here? It was starting to rot and break down after 8 years of use. I had several questions from folks asking about, well, what kind of material are you going to use? What do you recommend? That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video, is what am I using to repair my bed with? What are some other choices you may have out there? And if you are a beginner gardener looking to start your first box bed, what my recommendation to you is, let's go. Welcome back. Like I said in the intro, today we're going to talk about box bed materials and construction. A little bit of history here for you first. When we built our house up here 8.5, 9 years ago, I wanted to have some box beds here on top of the ridge beside our house just for convenience purposes. Most of our gardens are down in the valley below. If you saw in the last video, now we are moving those gardens. Some of the gardens up here on top, down below the house over here, they're still 100, 120 yards or so from the house, whereas these box beds are right here, just like 40 yards from the house. I can put smaller, more delicate crops here, like my lettuces, kale. I can put my cabbages in here, and then I always put my onions in here too, because it allows me to control them and control the growing conditions for them a little bit more, because I do generally have a grow cloth over the top of them. If I put that down in the field over there, farther from the house, I'm probably going to have a lot of critters and things messing with it and tearing it up. So I built these beds up here. The first 3 beds back here behind me, I built first. The materials I used for that were 1x6 treated decking lumber. Okay, you may be having alarms go off going, you used treated materials to build your box bed? Yes, I did. This decking material is not that old. The process used to treat lumber over the past 15 or so years is very different than the process that was used 40, 45 years ago. Out here in the country, I have neighbors that had small box beds near their house similar to what we're doing. They used anything you can think of. They would grow in railroad ties. You talk about something that's loaded with all kinds of toxic chemicals. Railroad ties are one of the worst things you can use. Not only that, they would grow in tires, tractor tires, truck tires, you name it. Anything that would hold dirt, people out in the country would grow in. You did not have the money to go out and buy specific types of materials to build a box bed with. You made use of what you had available or what was economical. So this lumber was all came from a repair job that my dad did on a house. If you've watched this channel for very long, you've seen, and I've talked about before, my dad salvages a ton of lumber from his remodel jobs that he's done. He's built houses his entire life. So you've got, 50 years worth of construction time that he has lumber that he's salvaged. It's crazy the amount of lumber and things. So he had an entire truckload of this 1x6 treated decking material, and I thought, okay, I'm going to use that. Here we are now, going on 8 years later, it started to rot and break down, and it's time for me to repair these, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I'm using to repair these beds with now. So as you can see here, I have already put the new frame in. What I did was, before, when the old frame was in, is I dug the dirt out from around the edge. I always come and dig the dirt out to get the dirt ready to till, to get ready to plant my onions with. Generally is the first thing I'm planting. But I dug the dirt away from the edge of the old bed, and I was able to tear it out. And then my daughter came out and helped me frame this up. The weather was terrible. She was sick. I was not feeling very well either. We've all been passing the flu and things around here. So I wanted to make the most of the time, and I did not feel like messing with the camera. But what we've got here now is the exact same dimensions of the old bed. But what I'm using now, similar to what I did before, I used salvage treated lumber there. This is also salvage material, but it's not treated lumber. This is actually Trex decking material. You probably can't see it, but well, this little bed right here is also made out of Trex decking material. It's been in the ground for 7 years, and it has zero sign of any kind of decay or breakdown. There's another Trex decking material bed right over there that I made last year. Obviously, it's not going to have any signs. And then there's a little another Trex decking material back here behind me. That's my little germination bed. That's been there now, I think, for 3 years. So they're all holding up fantastic, especially this one that's been out here for, I think it's 7 years now. I put that in to have like cilantro and herbs and stuff in. So what I'm doing here now is I'm using this, it's roughly a 1x6 as well. So it allowed me to have the same height, the depth of material. Because of the slope of the hillside here, the way I do it is the upper side here is just a single 1x6. The lower side is two 1x6s stacked on top of each other. So it's, by the time you factor in the fact that it's not truly 6 inches, it's more like an 11-inch tall side over there, 11-inch deep side over there. So I'll come through a little bit later, I'll till this all up, I'll level it all out, and then I will have plenty of depth of tilled soil in here that I have supplemented with rabbit manure that will be perfect for me to grow anything in, just like I do every year. But once again, I did not have to go buy any material. This was in my dad's barn that he had salvaged from a job. The 2x4 blocks that I have on each corner to hold them together with, that was left over from my barn construction project. And then the end panels, because of the slope, you probably can't see a lot of it there, but I actually closed off the end to make up the gap with some aluminum siding that I had left over. I say aluminum, it's probably actually steel siding now that I think about it, as heavy as it is. But it was leftover scrap material from the barn build project from a year and a half ago. And I've had it just laying around out in the barn, figured I would do something with it. So once again, all of this, I had to buy some of the screws, but everything else here was salvaged. I have less than $5 in this entire bed. So while I chose to use this Trex decking material here for this bed, there were several different reasons for that. One, it was laying around my dad's barn. It was taking up space. He wanted it gone. I had a use for it. So it just made sense for me to go ahead and bring it here and use it. I am not worried about anything leaching out of this. This is still way safer than any of the old treated lumber that's out there. And, you know, I'm really not worried about it personally. I mean, if you're worried about it, then that's fine. Go ahead. But as far as materials that you can use for your box beds, you've got, obviously, I've talked about the treated lumber. You can do that. Red cedar, western cedar are all good options. I've talked to people that have used cypress as well. I've never actually looked for cypress for sale anywhere, so I don't know how hard it is to find it. But I know red cedar, western cedar are pretty readily available everywhere. I have quite a bit of red cedar here. Obviously, I've got 2 cedar trees right here. I've got a downed red cedar over here that's probably that big around that I'm going to end up milling up again later. Probably when I do that, I will mill it into 2x material. That way I can have that saved for future box bed use to replace these others that are going to need to be replaced eventually as well. That said, those materials are all fairly pricey. Western cedar is a little bit probably less pricey, I would say. I don't know how well it holds up compared to red cedar. Here in East Tennessee, red cedar grows everywhere. A lot of sawmills in the area have it. So it's not that hard to come by, but it is kind of pricey. So it all depends on what your spending limit is, on what you're looking at putting in and investing into your box bed and what your purposes are. Because if you begin to get so expensive that it does not make economical sense actually for you to even have a garden. You know, you can actually invest so much money here that, yeah, you get the joy and the pride of growing something, but economically, that tomato just cost you $14 to harvest. So I try to gauge and balance and weigh all that together myself. So here's another example of one of my other box beds. This was the most recent bed that I built. So I built this bed out of 2x6 pine untreated lumber. I didn't paint it, I didn't polyurethane it, I didn't nothing. This bed has been in the ground 2 years, and the lower boards down on the bottom down there, they're already pretty much totally rotten and gone. So untreated pine, while it is the cheapest that you can buy out there, just understand it's probably not going to last you very long. So the investment that you make into it, you're going to have to repeat every 2-3 years, give or take, probably. Now, you could probably prolong this if you treated it. A lot of the stuff in our house, when we built our house, we had a lot of exposed lumber, like countertops and stuff. And for that, I used a marine grade polyurethane. That stuff was crazy thick. I mean, I can't even explain. It's like putting icing on a cake. It was just super thick. It wasn't, like your typical polyurethane or varnish that you would use. That, inside the house, we use it on our sinks. Where our sinks are, the water still to this day just beads up and sits there. There are no water spots. There's no signs of anything. If you wanted to use the pine, I would highly recommend you use a very durable, outdoor, weather-resistant, like that marine grade polyurethane to extend the life of this material. Otherwise, you are going to be replacing it on a regular basis. This bed also made out of all salvage materials. This lumber was in my dad's barn that he had pulled out of a remodel job. These 4x4 posts, you can see this was actually somebody's deck post. It's still painted. It's still notched where the handrail went in. So, I just pulled it out, put it up here, and I've used it to attach this also salvaged fencing material that I used as a trellis for cucumbers and different things like that this year. Does it look nice? No. Is it fancy? No. Is it Pinterest or Instagram worthy? No. You know what? I don't care. That's not why I have a garden. I'm not trying to impress anybody with a nice looking garden. I'm here to grow food for my family and be as efficient and economical as I can be. So when you talk about economical gardens, one thing that blows my mind to this day is, and I've made videos on this in the past, is the business of gardening. I am shocked when I go onto the garden groups that I'm on Facebook, and I see the number of people that have bought these elaborate pre-manufactured gardening bed containers, basically. People don't hesitate to drop $200, $300, $400 on a galvanized metal bed from a gardening company that they then fill with either bagged soil that is extremely expensive, or these nowadays you can buy like 1 cubic yard soil, like super sacks, that get delivered to your house for you. That is very expensive as well. Or they go out and they'll get mushroom compost, or they'll have it delivered from a freight company or whatever. Not a freight company, but basically just somebody with a small dump bed can deliver it. That's fine. If you've got the money to do that and you want to do it, go for it. But what I try to explain to people is you don't have to invest all that. I will say I get more questions from people that are looking to start gardening than I do people who have been gardening. The people looking to start gardening are looking for ways to get into it in an economical manner and the most user-friendly way. And if the barrier to entry or the threshold to entry into having your own garden in your backyard is to buy a $300 pre-manufactured, pre-fabbed raised bed and then fill it with $400 worth of dirt, you're cutting out a lot of people that would like to have a small garden or a way to just supplement their groceries. With that, you're immediately eliminating those folks, because not everybody has $500, $600, $700 or $1,000 to throw away on a raised bed. That's where I was saying before, when you put that kind of money into it and then you come in here and you plant your tomatoes and peppers and things, that you got to look at the money you got invested and those tomatoes and the peppers you harvested. That's probably the most expensive produce you're ever going to eat in your life, as compared to making use of having a bed or a garden that is using stuff that you already have. And that there takes me to my key takeaway from this video. While there are more preferred and ideal materials of construction for you to use to put your box beds in. Those materials may make it easier for you. They may make your beds last longer. And that's all fantastic. You do have to look at the lifetime of your bed when you're doing your economic analysis to determine, how much money can I invest, and if I've got to replace my wooden frame every 3 years, you got to factor that into your decision. But the point of this is, my advice to you is, if you're looking to start, making a box bed, raised bed out of materials you already have is always going to be my recommendation to somebody as compared to going out and purchasing new materials to build something with. If you've got lumber laying around or you have access to lumber, then use that. If you've got family members that have that, ask them if you can buy from them potentially if they're willing to sell it. You're always going to come out better, more economical, using material that you already have as compared to having to go out and buy everything brand new just because you saw something out there on social media where people are saying, you have to build it out of red cedar. Yeah, red cedar raised beds look beautiful. I love red cedar. I've probably got 40, 50 red cedar 1x boards up here in my barn. That's cool. I'm not going to use it for this because it's 1x and it's more of a prime red cedar material. If it came down to it in a pinch, yeah, I would use it. Right now, I'm not in a pinch and I don't need to use it. Same thing goes with the soil. If somebody tells you you've got to go buy expensive soil and it's going to cost you $300, $400, $500 to fill that box bed to grow your produce with, look for other alternatives. This is red clay that has either been supplemented with topsoil, chicken manure, or rabbit manure, and ashes. I forgot. I dump all my fireplace ashes out here. So you don't have to go buy a bunch of stuff to have a garden. The point is, if you're looking to get into having a garden for the very first time, go in it easy. You don't want to make a huge investment because gardening is not for everybody. Now, this type of gardening in these beds, to me, is very different than the primary kind of gardening we do here on the farm, which is in our in-ground gardens. And if you've seen our videos in the past, that's when you got to bring out the tractors and the tillers and all that sort of stuff. Generally, for us, with the scale of gardening we are doing, that's what it requires. At least that's how we choose to do it, I should say. Not what it requires, but that's how we choose to do it. These are a lot more manageable for persons without a lot of equipment. I do have a small tiller that I will use in here, a little Honda tiller that I will use, and I've done plenty of videos on that. It makes the tilling of the soil so much faster than trying to do it by hand with a broad fork or a rake or a hoe or anything like that. It makes it so much faster, and I supplement this soil every year, like I said, with manure of some sort. I do get calcium every now and then, and I will hit it with a little bit of calcium just to add a little bit more to it. So like I said, just one more time, the key takeaway from this video is, if you're looking to get into gardening for the very first time, using materials that you already have is my recommendation to anyone out there as compared to going out and buying new lumber, anything to start building a box bed with. Well, I just want to thank you for coming along today, letting me share with you a little bit about my strategy, how I'm doing this, and my thoughts on all this. The topic of materials of construction and soil for your beds is something I'm extremely passionate about. I'm very vocal on the Facebook groups that I am on. When I see people telling people that you have to go buy this and this and this, and people are going to spend hundreds, almost $1,000 on a box bed, like I said, not everybody has that. You are immediately eliminating certain people from the gardening community by telling them that's what they need. I know this is going to ruffle some feathers of a few people out there, because there are certain folks out there that think that you have to have that sort of stuff because that's what they bought into whenever they first started gardening. My family has gardened here on this farm for over 100 years. Over 100 easily. And it's all been in red clay soil. We supplement it with manure, and yep, over the years, there has been synthetic fertilized added in certain places. I've gone away from that to the greatest extent possible. I don't use pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. I don't use any of that. I've gone away from that. But I'm going to tell you, and that's what I'm here to tell you though, is you do not have to invest hundreds of dollars to get into gardening just because somebody out there is telling you that, and just because you're flooded with ads from these companies on social media telling you that's what you need to do. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful spring. Wish you the best. Hope you have a wonderful day. Happy spring. Happy gardening. God bless.